The first time we all went to buy a bait casting rod, walking down those aisles was completely daunting. There is rods all over the place, all different lengths, models, sizes, for which most of us really had no idea what we needed or what we even wanted. We just had seen somebody bass fishing and knew that watching KVD boat flip a big 5-pounder was something we wanted to do. So we went out to buy a bait caster. It was something cool. Most of us ended up with a 7 to 7.2 foot medium heavy fast action rod, and that's not an accident. Most of the rods that they sell at all of our tackle dealers are pretty much 7-foot medium heavies, and that's not an accident either, because it's one of the most versatile rods out there. There's so many different baits that you can throw on it, and so many different reel and line combinations that work well with it. It is a great starting out rod. What we didn't think about when we were buying that rod was the baits that go well with it. As beginner anglers, a lot of times we're just so focused on getting that rod and going to the lake that we don't think about the actions in the bait combo that we all think about, and most of us think about now. So for you guys that are just starting out, just getting your first rod, I want to break down what baits fish well on the rod that you just purchased, so that way when you go out there, you're not losing fish and you're not getting discouraged. You're putting the ball in your court to use the baits that help you catch more fish. For those of you guys that are new, don't be afraid to subscribe to the channel for regular content coming out every week, but let's start talking about what baits go well with a medium heavy rod. Right off the bat, the biggest category of baits that go well with this rod are going to be baits that have a single hook. That's going to be baits like a jig, like a chatterbait, like a buzzbait. Those are going to be baits that work extremely well for the sole fact that you have one singular hook. A medium heavy fast action rod is basically designed for single hook baits. What it does well with is, since you have that single point of contact, when a fish eats it and you set the hook, you can really drive the hook home to get more fish to the bank or to the boat, wherever you happen to be fishing. These rods also have a little bit of a soft tip, which allow you to fish all of these different baits with accuracy and with the comfortability of that 7-foot, that 6.5 to 7-foot model that allow you to put yourself in all kinds of different positions with these baits in order to be versatile with them. That medium heavy also gives you the access to all different weights and sizes of these baits. You're not going to want to throw something like a giant flipping jig, but a 3/8, half ounce, and even a 1/4 ounce jig are going to be your best friend, because that lighter weight to that medium weight is going to be a perfect match for that rod. One of the other big categories of baits that you can throw is things like a Texas rig. That's going to be craws, that's going to be swimbaits, that's going to be Carolina rigs. Anything that you can Texas rig that has that one singular hook is going to be super, super important for you guys. And the versatility of a Texas rig is almost endless. You can fish that in almost any different situation. You can put things like a swimbait on it, which leads me to my next bait. A swimbait is a phenomenal option. That big single hook swimbait works great. But back to the Texas rig, you can put all kinds of different baits on that for all kinds of different situations, whether that be clear water, flipping a small craw, or whether that be dirty water, flipping a big brush hog or something along those lines. You can cover all of your bases with that setup. That reminds me, guys, I just put out a Texas rig video on why it would change your life to watch this Texas rig video. You should definitely go and check that one out. I'll have it linked at the end, along with all of the gear that I've talked about in here. So if you guys are looking to get a medium heavy rod, I'll link some of my favorite options down below, along with all of these baits, so that way you guys can get set up and get catching more fish. But some of the off-the-wall baits that people don't think about when they're buying this rod is things like a mag draft, a big treble hook swim bait. Because this is a little bit bigger bait, it loads up better with this size bait. It almost acts more of a crankbait style with a moderate bend because of the weight of this bait, and it matches perfectly. You can get away with throwing some of the bigger soft plastic baits. It also works well with some big topwater baits like this whopper plopper. Because they're a little bit heavier, it almost gives them a crankbait style to them. So those treble hooks don't hinder you, and these are baits that have big treble hooks, so when you hook that fish, you can really crank them in. Now, they're not perfect for throwing those, but they do a really, really good job. Just like a medium heavy rod does. It does a decent job at throwing all of these different baits. It's not perfect, but it does a really, really good job. One of the last baits that I'll talk about is a topwater frog. A topwater frog is a phenomenal bait to cover all kinds of different situations, and it works extremely well in ponds. If you guys have ever seen a topwater blow up, there is absolutely nothing like it. When those fish come up and absolutely explode on it, it is just unworldly and it hooks you for the rest of your life. I know it did for me. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you guys can see more of the content that I have coming out every single week. But God bless you guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.